Welcome to Michelle Motivational Corner. Bursting forth with new joy. Focus on the positive, pray about the negative. So excited. I am so excited. I am so excited. Thanksgiving is here. It's here. It's here. I'm like, wow, all the good food and the love that we gonna be giving out because Thanksgiving is to be thankful, for all the things that most people take for granted, and I'm so thankful with gratitude because I look on the good, then I look at the bad. I focus on the positive, pray about the negative, and that's what really gonna keep us going, no matter what's going on. We just got to stay focused on the positive, pray about the negative. The more you keep focusing on the positive, praying about the negative, you're gonna see things be eliminated. Even when it seems bleak or hard or impossible, trust me. That's why the words say Romans 3, Romans 8:28. Everything works together for those who love the Lord. And that's what I've been on, because I know, without the Lord, everything would be impossible. Everything would be impossible with the Lord. We know that we able to make, be able to make moves that we know that God is going to always be in the midst of it, especially if you put Him first. So, don't get caught up what's going on. We hear stuff going on, AI, people losing their jobs, but it's always a remedy to anything, no matter what it is. It's nothing new under the sun. It's just for everybody to understand. It's like when you seek the kingdom first, all these things will be added, because the Lord wants you to understand in a time such as this, for us to for every last one of us to stay dedicated and put Him first. Not that job, not your car, not your money, not the bank account. Put Him first, because all these things will be added, and it'll last, it'll stay, and God will give you wisdom in a time such as this to be able to navigate and delegate. So, however it is, I just want everybody to be up and motivated, knowing that we have so much to be thankful for, regardless what we don't have and what we in need of. We just know, just keep on living and keep focusing on the positive, pray about the negative. Like I say, live, love, life, fun, have God first. And all that is just really what I've worked in my life when things seem to be crazy and it didn't even make sense. I just knew, and I look back on it like, wow, the Lord got me through that, because I just couldn't even understand how I'm going to get through it, because it was just too much. It was too much for me, but God know, because He's the illustrator, orchestrator. So to say that, and the point where I'm going is Christmas coming up. Christmas is a blessing. Every day is Christmas because it's a gift of life. If God wake you up in the morning, be thankful. Wake up. You woke up in the morning. Precious life is a gift. That's why I give flowers. While you in the land of living, I want God to bless you. I want things to just be flowing for you in areas where it might be stubborn obstacles, wherever it might be, any heaviness, heartache, brokenness. I just wish well and want to see each and every individual to realize that we are held accountable for our actions. We are held accountable for the decision, the choices we make. It. So it's just time to choose the Lord, put Him first. If you put Him first, you're going to find out how much everything will line up in your life. That's why I be looking at a lot of people. They say one thing but do another. But one thing about it, when you trust in the Lord ain't going to change. He ain't going to say what His word say and then do another thing. No, His word is going to produce. And I'm proof of it, because I'm like, I ain't holding it down. Everybody, I'm like, I'm being me. I'm going to live my life, but I put God first. I love the Lord. He loves me. And when I love on Him, He loves on me. When I give Him the glory, He give me the glory. Nobody can take it and stop it. That's why I do what I do, because with confidence, I ain't always been like this. I've been on a level where I had to do some things to really see if it works, and it worked. I really decided to set a lot of things out the way just to see what type of results I was gonna get. And it started off me deciding, do I want to hang in the streets, be up on everything, hanging on whatever was happening. I had friends that knew what was happening. They always was up on sets and everything. And I'm like, okay, I'm winning hanging. But I had to realize I had children. At the time, I had two children. And I had to really realize, like, this ain't cool, because your kids, they watching everything, and as they get older, they're gonna know this, and this is something you don't want to have effect. Because if I wouldn't have changed my life, I would probably be having a whole bunch of grandkids and having things that would be out of control, and it'd be so heavy on me because this is the life that they feel like they're supposed to have, because they didn't witness me not want to get out of myself and change. That's why I say I know for a fact if it weren't for me change, I'd be a whole totally different person than what I am now. For real. One thing I could say that I wasn't ever alcoholic. I wasn't addicted to no drugs. I just like to get out, have fun, be where the people was at, wherever was popping, having a good time, You count me if I knew somebody and they knew me, hey, I'm there, But I had to change, and I changed in so many ways because I looked at myself as what I could say to the youngs that got children, to focus on your children, focus on God, put God first, so you can be that dedicated mother that you need to be for your children, whether you're with the father, not, whether you're single, you're married, your children become the main priority. And I just know that so many women, when I was out here, you know, about that life out here, it was so many women that put their kids in harm's way by just trying to hang out and live that lifestyle. And that lifestyle wasn't for me. I come to my senses, okay, 2 days, maybe one day in a row was good enough for me, but I got to get to my motherhood. I got to go and cook for my kids. I got to make sure every last one of my children had clean clothes so they can get up and go to school and do everything they need to be done, because I had to cook. I had to make sure their clothes was washed and clean. I just had a lot of things that I had to line up, other than me hitting these parties or going out of town, whatever it was that was really going to hold my attention and take my attention away from my children, my family. And so that's why I say, I had a lot of opportunity to make moves that it wouldn't have been a good look for my family. I'm thinking it was going to be a good look because of this, but I said all that'll come, but I want it to be coming from the Lord, and I want it to last. I don't want to be doing anything that I would regret, and it would come back and just really, would be to the point where I would feel so bad, like, dang, my kids got that, and they know I did this and that. That's why I changed. That's why I'm so much able to pick things up, because I've matured. I done got to the mature level where I most definitely can give it as a testimony that I did it, and I know if I did it, hoping well that somebody else will do it and realize this is the time to realize, hey, life is too important. And it's best to realize what's more important, and what's important that you have a relationship with the Lord. You engage in Him, and as you engage in Him, He would show you who He is and what He able to do for you, because He already knew before day one when you was planted in your mom's womb. And that's what makes the world go around, because when we produce, we got to realize, they didn't ask to be here, but we want to be able to demonstrate and lead the way. And that's why I end up doing some of the things I did, because I'm not going to just tell you, keep your legs closed and use your head. I had to use it, and I demonstrated. And I remember many times I was like for real, and I just said, this is something that I want to do, because I know whatever I needed to do to be able to recognize what was going on and what was around me, I want to be able to execute it. And if you don't ever identify what it is, you're not going to be able to execute it. It become more, here's the mountain, but you're going to win eventually if you trust in the Lord. If you trust in the Lord. So that's why I do the testimony out there, which really was a tip, the celibacy. I did it, and I remember I got off 5 years, and I remember, I was meeting a lot of guys, nice guys that was really nice, attractive. And, we would have conversations, talk. We went out to eat and everything a couple of times, and I just felt like, I was steadfast and knowing that I wasn't gonna get thrown off. And my friend, he's was just talking and just telling me great things, And one day he sent me a picture. The picture was of him nude, and I just was like, like, dang, I was being tested. I was being tested, and I was like, just like Lord. But at the same time, I just knew I had to stay focused on that. And when he did that, I just, I didn't even go off on him. I was like, okay, you straight. I said, But at the same time, just show you that, when you have your mind made up, you'll do something and it all gonna benefit because I was able to tell my daughters to this day, it's cool. Because, I'm not trying to be a nun. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. I'm not trying to be a nun. The only thing I'm trying to do is steadfast and trust in God until he bring the right one. You know what I'm saying? And I know that this principle worked because I done seen God work in many ways. And I could tell anybody and everybody, it's nothing like being pure, knowing that your body is being so much in his hands. And as you do things, you meet him halfway, he meets you halfway. And I had to give it as a living sacrifice so I could stay online and just thank him for keeping me and covering me. And I'm the age that I am now, I'm like, wow, I feel good. I feel like I'm 16. But wisdom is a 21-year-old, they're my favorite age, 16 and 21. And so I really want to stay lined up so I can get results because I know that God plans for me is greater than anybody telling a story that didn't like me or the way they wanted people to see me. You could program stuff and brainwash people, but one thing about it, I learned to denounce things that I know was coming up against me because I realized it's not about me, it's about so many people might be going through and they might not be able to identify it. But I'm going to tell you right now, when you focus on God, you're going to really realize God not going to let you be ignorant and slow and dumb to nobody, period. I don't care whether you ever been in school or went to school, but when you trust the Lord is going to demonstrate to you who he is and how you be still and trust him, and he'll handle it. And so I've seen that happen for me many times. And I just continue on realizing, like, what's most important. Distraction always gonna try to focus on the negative or bring negative energy, but you got to focus on what the Lord word said. And they could be right, they could be wrong. But one thing about it, when you trust the Lord, he gonna prove them wrong. And he gonna make them be literally put to shame. You just trust him. And that's exactly what I do. I trust him. I say, because he demonstrates signs, wonder, confirmation, revelation, tangible manifestation. He always demonstrates. And I'm like, wow, okay, Lord, I get it. Because I ain't holding it down. And I'm not trying to act like I'm all perfect. I'm not even trying to be anything but what the Lord called. Because, I'm like, I'm not trying to be no minister or anything. But whatever the Lord want me to do, I do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, Lord, it's enough. I done already did some stuff. It was the most popular thing to not do. And I got 15 years under my belt. And somebody asked me, oh yeah, I'm still there. I'm just in rehearsal for when God bring the right one. I'm just steadfast, trusting in him and knowing that, Isaiah 60:22, his timing all the way to perfect timing. You can't ever overlook that the fact is, oh, my time ain't coming. When it's coming, It's just in divine alignment, divine intervention, divine connection, divine appointment. And when God do it, trust me, it's all gonna fall in place, you know. And I kind of give this as an example. Like, I didn't ever drive, and I remember when I were trying to get my license, I was taking the test, and I remember I paid, and I could not get my parallel parking for nothing in the world. I failed the test. That was twice. First time. Second time, I was excited. I told family, and I failed it again. So I was so frustrated. I was just like, and it's no giving up on me because I'm going to go all the way to the end until I conquer it. I don't care what it looked like, seemed like. Man, third time I moved quietly. When I took that, the driver instructor told me, he said, you led foot. He said, but really, I wasn't supposed to pass you because you drive too fast. He said, but you did good. And he passed me. He said, you just was too fast. I normally not supposed to do this. Luke 2:52, that I'm going to do it. And I paid my $84 and got my license because I was in tears. I was like, man, I was mad because I'm like, I had been riding off my permit. I was going out everywhere, to Inkster, downtown, everywhere. And I just said, oh, man, I'm like, I want to do things right, Lord, because I told the Lord once I started driving. And, because that was something I figured. It was timing. It was God's timing. And everything that conspired in between time, that was like a discouragement, and that's a whole nother story. One day I'll be able to break that down and tell you before I end up getting everything. It was like to discourage me. Like, you ain't gonna never get your life. You gonna be riding off a permit, and you just, it was like everything. But that was the example that I used to tell anybody. Isaiah 60:22, God's time, it'll happen. It's not to be discouraged. Just get in rehearsal like me. Shoot, I be thinking like, shoot. I'm like, got my whole theme and everything lined up. Like, when the right one comes, it's like, man, I got a soundtrack for it. Like, man, even on the days, you know what I'm saying, when we up praying, whatever, you know what I'm saying, to the bedroom, like, for real, for real. It's just, being real, That's the sense of humor you have to know, look at the positive, focus on the positive, pray about the negative, Because I've been a good girl, for real. I ain't going to lie, because I'm like, I look at me now versus when I were young. And what would I tell my younger self? Focus on the positive, pray about the negative. Don't let nobody distract you. Don't get off square. Stay focused. Do your thing. Get your education. Get your education. Get your education. And when you feel like people are being funny or they letting you down, just focus on making it happen. Just focus on it. Because the more you stay focused, the more the distraction will be eliminated, because you get your eyes on the prize, and that's the Lord. But when you focusing on things that really matter, all that go bleak. You'll be like the blindfolds on. You ain't seeing them. You hear them. You ain't hearing them. So that's why I tell them. I say, look, I'm more than just a body. I'm a human being, an impressive human being that really make an impression to say that the Lord, I don't show off. This is what the Lord doing for me. And I feel good. I feel great because it's situations that I know for a fact that God had pulled me up and out of. And I could just say he get the glory for it. And I'm not ashamed to show off what he done for me, because I asked God when I was young. I said, Lord, and I wasn't on the level like I am now, know what I know. But I literally said, Lord, when I get up in my 50s, I want to look good. I want to have the energy, youthful and young. And when I look at myself, I'm like, man, I give God the glory for that. Because I ask, and you ask, you should receive, especially if you got a right heart. And I got a good heart. I love people, But one thing about me, The other side of that is can be very evil, very evil. And I'm not an evil person, but I just stay the course and focusing on the word and trying to demonstrate how important it is for me to line myself up with it so I could see. Because I wouldn't be doing none of this if it didn't work, because I didn't even sign up to do this. And I say, man, but the Lord have his way. And now when I look at my children, I look at my family, even the people that's connected to me, I just be like, Lord, just let us live our life to the fullest, with longevity and life and more abundantly, that we will be able to take nothing for granted. We'll be able to acknowledge the fact is you did it. You did it. And not only that, you work through people. The Lord works through people. And he worked through people many times. When I had my daughter, shoot. When I ended up getting my job, the guy that was running the place, he ended up putting me in position up in the chem lab. Like, girl, you ain't got to do nothing but get samples. I was going through that sample. You talking about walking through them samples. They was like, how you get up in there? We've been at this job for 6 months and everybody to put their name on the list. But I was like, not knowing Luke 2:52 was all day, every day. I would go down there and I'm like, man, I ain't even know. But see, that's what God, the Lord would do, because that person seen me being persistent. And by me being persistent and I got a personality, I'm just cool. And I don't want to be stuck up in that. Plus, I'm beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I'm a very attractive woman. God gave me everything I need to empower myself, working on me, on my hair. Look at my hair, I'm like came a long way from when my hair was just little like this and short up here, and this was like right here. My hair was like right here. And it's just gonna keep growing and getting thicker. And I'm like, just keep taking care of myself. This is what happens when you yield before God, because I told my daughter that it's easy said than done. I'm not walking to walk, just walk. I want you to be able to take notes, classes in session. You might have graduated from college, you might got your, but I want you to know this is real talk. If I didn't walk this walk and I'm not so much pressed, I want you to understand you shouldn't either. You shouldn't even be up under the radar feeling low or having low self-esteem, because one thing about it, the Lord always will shift and change situations. I don't care where you feeling low at and you don't feel good enough. But the Lord always will show you that if you seek him and trust him, he will turn your situation around. And that's where your confidence should come from, is him. Because if you're looking for man to build you up, they're going to let you down just as quick they build you up. Let them get mad. Let them feel like you ain't done what they want to do. Next thing you know. So I just don't have time to please nobody but God. If I please God, God going to send me the right people. The Lord will send me right people. These right people would be the people that supposed to be in my life. Not with me having to long for somebody to like me or, no. I'm like, I don't have time to please nobody but the Lord. If I, the Lord, he's going to give me the right people. He's going to give me the right people. So to say that and close on that note, I'm just really, wishing well for everybody and want everything, to let this holiday bring us closer together in love. And, just keep praying, don't give up. And knowing that I overcame a lot of stuff, to just say this is that we don't know what is planned for tomorrow, but we know if we trust the Lord that we going to be all right. Like Kendrick Lamar's son say, we going to be all right. And Try Tribbett, we going to be all right. And I feel it. I feel like we're going to be all right, Just stay encouraged. And my testimony is to say that we're going to be all right, And I thank God for taking care of situations that seem to be so hard and difficult, mental emotions and all that. Just taking care of it, resting on him. I thank him for allowing me to rest and allow me to, get things together. I've been trying to get to the basement, do different things around the house, It just seemed like over the years things accumulated, and it's so funny because my daughter, when she graduated out of college, I think the second year she was home, she ended up moving to Sterling Heights, and so she stayed out there for 3 years, and then she ended up moving back home, and all the stuff she had in storage was in storage. She was paying, and then she got to the point where she couldn't afford to pay it no more. So she ended up moving everything in the basement. So now stuff is everywhere, and I'm so used to, not having stuff like that. So I say, man, that's where I've been spending my time at, trying to get stuff lined up in the basement, to get stuff out the way, just in position for the great things that God got in store, because have my way. I want everything remodeled and renewed, and it's all to come. Patient, and I just want to say this is that the Lord is able to do anything. Just stay encouraged, and I want to say I love y'all. And what up, though? I love you, Detroit, Michigan, and I just want everything to just work out in divine alignment, divine intervention for me, my family, and those who connected to me. Love you, Detroit. Love you all over, everywhere.